Prompting the Past, Evoking an Actor's Perspective on Labor-Motivated Indo-Fijian Diaspora in Thomas's Plays. My name is Shailesh Lal, and I work at the University of the South Pacific. For the purpose of this presentation, I will first look at why a theatre actor's perspective allows insights into society. This will be followed by a brief look at why analytical autoethnography is a viable method for documenting personal experiences in academia. And then I look at how the presentation of three theatre characters represent the Indo-Fijian community. Why the actor's perspective? In a 2018 book, Acting the Basics, Bella Merlin forwards the important role actors play historically in society. She suggests that early in the history of mankind, one way of fathoming the controlling forces of the universe was by manifesting them into recognizable human forms. Thus, acting, and by virtue of association, actors have fulfilled an important role in the evolution of society as we experience it today. As an actor who had very limited training, I was often expected to study and provide my own interpretations of the character I was playing. Providing a realistic portrayal seemed natural to me. In doing so, I adapted Stanislavski's idea of establishing the character's inner life. He placed a lot of emphasis on training the actor to become the character. Consequently, as theatre became more than just acting for me, analyzing my performances became equally important. I feel the perspective of the actor is able to transcend boundaries of social and theatrical acting. So much so that self-reflection forms an important component of this presentation, which is the result of analytical autoethnography. Analytical autoethnography is often difficult for a researcher to isolate previous personal experiences and prejudices. Leon Anderson emphasized that even as far back as 1923, he relied heavily on personal experiences about homeless men. In iterating this view further, Atkinson emphasized that the long tradition of life history has been predicated on close relationships between the researcher and the informant. Caroline Ellis refers to autoethnography as research, writing, and method that connect the autobiographical and personal to the cultural and social. It incorporates the contribution of the researcher. However, it is not fully autobiographical, as a notion of critical awareness remains. Leon Anderson adds analytical autoethnography as a further development, proposing exponents as complete member researcher status, analytical reflexivity, narrative visibility of the researcher's self, dialogue with informants beyond the self, and commitment to theatrical analysis. Anderson feels that analytical autoethnography not only truthfully renders the social world an investigation, but also transcends the same world through broader generalizations. I begin by applying this to the first of the three plays, Man, Women, and Insanity. The play Man, Women, and Insanity was written as Thomas's response to the 1987 coups. The action centers around 7 youths who are at an after-hours drinking party at the back of an isolated factory. This naturalistic play focuses on the youths and 2 older, mentally unstable characters. As the play proceeds, the mood of the group slowly transforms from the jovial to the argumentative, verging on violence. The play centers on the interactions between the 7 youths and is punctuated by Sam's monologues which in themselves can also be regarded as an adjacent commentary on life in Fiji. Sam's character remains enigmatic throughout the play. The backstory is that Sam, a civil servant educated in England, started showing signs of mental distress or dependence, and even more so after the return to Britain of the colonial administrators. In the opening scene, he has an intriguing impact on the audience with 3 monologues, one each from Martin Luther King, Mao Zedong, and Enric Irons, as if advertising his arsenal of quotes to them. In doing so, he is also declaring his position as the group philosopher to the audience. Throughout the play, he quotes from a diverse range of thinkers, philosophers, and texts, revealing his repertoire. Sam is able to captivate the audience's imagination, forcing them to debate between the intelligence he portrays and the insanity he represents in the play. In preparing for Sam, the physical transformations was achieved with ease. The psychology of the character, that took more time. I had decided early that as a British-trained ex-civil servant, I would ensure that despite my depressing appearance, I would compensate for it by my polished language and pompous mannerisms. A clash of the exaggerated exhibition of dignified mannerisms and his disheveled look helped establish a reflection of an independent Fiji trying its best to overcome its colonial shackles and artistic sediment of the colonizer. Being an Indo-Fijian actor playing Sam, I couldn't help but notice his ability to transcend the stage's boundaries. His essence in the narrative of the play represents the fluidity of the Indo-Fijian identity. Because of the years of adapting and adopting their cultural identity, Indo-Fijians have obviously transcended the culture that their ancestors initially brought with them from India. My interpretation of Sam's Indo-Fijianness draws on the philosophical struggles and the historical reflections of Indo-Fijians in Fiji. I displayed that the disintegration of an Indo-Fijian Sam represents the subsequent disintegration of Fiji as a nation because of the close association between the two. It reflects that the relationship between Indo-Fijians and Fiji is of mutual reliance, where the detriment or benefit of either is mirrored in the other. Now looking at the second play, Searching for the Smile. This play is set in a bar. No barrier was created to segregate the audience from the actors. Such an ambience suggested that the audience was an extension of the bar scene, silent revelers privileged enough to eavesdrop onto the private conversations that were taking place. Searching for the Smile is the search of 11 diverse individuals for happiness. What initially seems to be the disjointed narratives of 4 couples, each lamenting their own losses and aspirations, are woven together by the intrusions of the waiter, Tim. The relaxed conversations in the play are punctuated by 2 violent episodes involving the mentally disturbed Antonio, who remains a disturbing presence in the otherwise deceivingly peaceful setting of the play. The audience often links their personal experiences with what they see on stage, leading to an interpretation of the play as they watch the action unfold. Although implicit, the relationship between Tim and the audience was symbiotic as they both fed off each other's presence. The role of Tim, the waiter, was initially conceived as an Itoke character, but adjustments were made to the script to incorporate an Indo-Fijian actor. Thus, the Indo-Fijian ethnicity of the actor was a determinant in the portrayal of the character. Tim is tasked with moving the action by his carefully choreographed movements. In his exchanges with the tourist Peter, Tim reveals a side to his personality which promotes the friendly image of the people usually found on tourist brochures. The sincerity of his promotions are unclear, but he readily reaffirms Peter's romantic expressions of Fiji. As an Indo-Fijian, Tim, he also emphasizes that life on the farms were tiring yet satisfying. This is significant as the Indo-Fijian population were mostly products of farm life. He endorses an image of the islands where you are surrounded by the idyllic sea, sand, and sun. However, with the play being produced in 1999 at a time when Indo-Fijian farmers were increasingly losing their cane farm leases, it was difficult for an Indo-Fijian farm boy like Tim to convincingly promote life in rural Fiji. This atmosphere of uncertainty for the Indo-Fijians helped me fashion Tim's experiences. My experiences of playing an Indo-Fijian team in the play, paralleled with the historical experiences of Indo-Fijians, reveal that Fiji remains a place where they have been able to grow roots. However, such roots do not get shaken when new routes are embarked upon. They transplant and grow in new environments under new conditions. In fact, the character Jacob shows that roots and routes intertwine to allow for stronger roots and more diverse routes. Tim recognized this attachment to the farm and the lifestyle in Fiji as reasons for choosing Fiji as his preferred country. There are many Indo-Fijians who similarly remain attached to Fiji and refuse to leave. More so, characters from the next play that I'm going to discuss, The Visitors. Set in an urban city in Fiji, the play revolves around the invasion of an Indo-Fijian home by a pair of Itoke intruders. The couple, Manju and Vishwa, suffer a harrowing night of torture and blackmail as the intruders interrogate the businessman Vishwa and his wife Manju, eventually revealing the shady side of Vishwa, who has amassed a stash of gold and cash illegally, which he intends to use to start a new life in Brisbane. The play ends with Vishwa pleading with his wife to migrate, a prospect the patriotic Manju is still reluctant about. On being offered the role of Vishwa, I found the script captivating, but the character repulsive, although I could see parallels in our combined fondness for Fiji. I agreed to the role because of the challenge it posed. The play starts with Vishwa preparing to retire for the day. I started the play by humming and singing a line from the 1957 Hindi movie song, from the movie Bhabhi. The song's words were, "Chal ud ja re panchi, ke ab ye desh hua begana." This line of the song loosely translates as "Fly away, bird, for this country isn't yours anymore." In preparing for this character, I constantly referred to this song as it helped me establish Vishwa's psyche. I found parallels between the feelings of statelessness evoked in the song to that felt by Indo-Fijians, treated as outsiders, especially during political upheavals and especially during elections. I initially found it difficult to portray the change occurring in Vishwa's characters from victim to villain in the climax scene. The intruders start revealing Vishwa's illegal activities to his wife and to the audience. I do not have enough lines in that scene to argue my innocence, except to emote. The solution was in emulating the behavior of Indian villain Prem Chopra, who was a master at emoting. This proved effective as Prem Chopra helped me execute similar emotions effectively on a Fijian stage. In both these instances, during the preparatory stages for my character, my ancestral connection to India, now restricted mostly to Indian films, assisted me in realizing that the bond, however weak, still remains with the land of my ancestors. I realized Vishwa's anger emanated because of his displacement from the family land. While Manju believes that they belong to Fiji, so need to stay on, Vishwa is of the view that they would continue to belong even if they left. In The Visitors, Manju and Vishwa both emerge as contrasting yet legitimate Indo-Fijian voices representing the dreams, concerns, and worries of their people. To conclude, I present how analytical autoethnography can be used to present an actor's perspective of life in Fiji. I traced 3 Larry Thomas characters: Sam from Man, Women in Insanity, Tim in Searching for a Smile, and Vishwa from The Visitors, to reveal how their professions and ethnicity helped determine their representations on stage. In doing so, I inadvertently end up representing Indo-Fijians as important players in Fiji's social, economic, and political development. For the purpose of this presentation, these are the references I used. Thank you very much.